Hi! This year I'm attempting to grow 700 kilos of food on 100 square meters of growing space, and to do that I need to start a lot of seeds indoors. If you watched the last video, you know that I was supposed to show you our plan for where we'll grow and how much we'll harvest of each crop. But that video is so time consuming to create, so it's coming, it's just not quite done yet. So I'm in the south of Sweden, and while our growing season is a lot longer than northern Sweden, we still need to start a lot of seeds indoors. Especially if we want to be able to get 2 or more harvests out of some spaces. So today I thought we'd take a look at what's currently growing indoors here, as well as what my top 7 tools or things are to be successful. And they are not expensive. So right now I have onions, leeks, tomatoes, asparagus, peppers, strawberries, sweet potatoes, cucumbers, and snow peas indoors. The snow peas could absolutely be sown directly outdoors, but I like to get a bit of a head start on them so we can have fresh snow peas, potatoes, and asparagus by midsummer. Of course, not these plants. They are going to be our midsummer dinner in about 3 or 4 years from now. Once April rolls around, I'll start beets, more cucumbers, squash, beans, and a whole lot more. So seed starting indoors doesn't have to be an expensive endeavor, but some things I think are worth spending a little bit extra on and using for a longer period of time instead. So I will tell you the cheapest way I can think of for each item, and I will also tell you what I use. I won't get into any high-end things that I don't actually use. When you grow indoors, at least I need light. If you have a window that's not north-facing, that works too without the grow lights, and that is really the cheapest way there is. But at least here in Sweden, between November and March, we do not have enough light for the plants to thrive, so they have to start under grow lights. And as spring progresses, I slowly fill up our windowsills as well. Now, there's a lot of grow lights on the market at ridiculous prices that promises that they are the best, but there's also been a lot of studies that suggest that plants aren't actually that picky. You need about 100 watts per square meters, and preferably white light. You do not need those fancy red and blue ones. They are not necessary. Keep the light about 10 centimeters above the plant and on for around 15 hours a day. Regular fluorescent tube lights do just fine. I like the kind that you can connect together to reduce the number of plugs you need to plug into the wall. Number 2 is somewhere to place your plants. So the cheapest option is anything you already own, and some eyelets, hooks, and strings for your light, like a windowsill or a table or anything. I like a very simple, lightweight shelf. So this one I have is from IKEA, and it was 200 Swedish kronor, or just below $20 US. I like it because I can hang my lights from the shelf above. Now you might notice that I'm not following my own rule about the height of the lights here. And that's because I'm waiting on a package with chains so I can lower the lights, and I ran out of space under my other lights. It's very hard to grow anything indoors without trays and pots, and the absolutely cheapest option is to use things you already have, like sour cream containers or egg cartons, or you can make pots from newspapers. For trays, you can use anything you have that is waterproof, such as plates or old oven trays. You can also take 2 of these containers and poke holes in the inner one so the outer one acts as a tray. And if you use these that we have here in Sweden, you can poke some holes in this clear lid and you get a great little mini greenhouse. Now, both the egg cartons and newspaper pots I feel are best suited for plants that grow fairly quickly, as they tend to go moldy and disintegrate over time. The egg cartons are, however, fantastic for starting potatoes indoors. However, if you do buy pots, seed starting trays, and trays in general for your plants, spend a bit more on them, but don't just go by the price, go by the type of plastic it's made of though. I find that there's generally 2 types of plastics in the pots you can find in the stores. One is thin, brittle, and after sun exposure shatters and cracks easily. This is an example of this. As you can see, The other is more sturdy and tough, and it's worth buying the tougher ones. You don't get broken pieces of plastic everywhere, and they work year after year. This is one of those kinds. These are 5 years old, I think. And in Sweden, I buy these from Jordnära. I will link their website below. I am not in any way sponsored, by the way, if that even needs to be said, from a channel of less than 300 subscribers. My favorite trays are from Nelson Garden. It's also tough type of plastic. The sieve starting trays that fits in these are 14 cells per tray, and you can have 3 of them. They aren't quite as sturdy as these, but they are not as brittle as this one. So they are somewhere in between. So if you're a bit more careful with them, they actually do last, but they're not as great as these. I also have these narrow green trays. And these are also really sturdy plastic. I've had these for years, and they fit well on my windowsills, as well as these tiny ones. These are actually 10 Swedish kronor trays for soap, I think, from IKEA, and they fit 2 of these. What I like about these is that they actually work really well with my trays, so I can fit 8 on these green trays and 15 on this one. And they are also not crazy expensive, any of these things, not the trays or the pots. There are also kits with the plastic dome to keep moisture that you can buy for these from Nelson Garden, but be wary because Nelson Garden does also produce the thin flimsy type, both mini greenhouses and pots, so you need to feel them to know which one it is if you don't buy exactly this one. These are 20 Swedish kronor for 10, which is honestly too cheap, in my opinion. But they are 7.5 centimeters and they are on Jordnära's website. So I use a heat mat to start the more stubborn seeds. And I got this one on sale. Oh, this is also from Nelson Garden. I think for about, it glaze flat when it's warm, for about 49 Swedish or somewhere around there. I think it's about 200, 250 if you buy it new. But if you don't want to spend that money or you don't have that money, you can use a really warm place, like on top of your refrigerator or by your dryer or anywhere like that. So these yellow sticky things, they are sticky so that fungus gnats can get stuck on them. I use these to mainly catch fungus gnats because they land and lay their eggs in the soil, and when their larva hatches, it eats the roots of the very tiny plants. So these stop the cycle of the egg laying and the hatching and the flies. If you're in Sweden and you want to find these in a store, Biltema sells them, but I have also seen them on Amazon. So you will also need to be able to mark your plants, so you know what plant is what variety. And I need to be a lot better at marking every individual pot. I'm always standing in the greenhouse in May with pots of mystery tomato because I mix them up. So a cheap, easy way to do this is with popsicle sticks, and it's also a great excuse to eat ice cream. But you can also just cut pieces of a plastic food container, like a lid from a butter container, or in this case, lid of a Philadelphia container, and write with a permanent marker. And I'm currently using labels printed on a thermal printer for the most part, but I'm still delusional enough to think that I'll remember some of my own. I also use these, and these will follow into the garden so I can know what's planted where in the garden. And you'll also need a way to water your plants, and honestly anything you're comfortable holding and that can hold water works. So you can use a reusable water bottle, just be careful when you pour. Or you can use a disposable water bottle with a hose poked with a warm nail through lid, or just screwed with a screw. Makes for a really nice little water as well. Or just a bottle as is. But I like a watering can with a very narrow spout so I don't accidentally drown any small plants. And I know some people like spray bottles. I just think it's too much of a hassle, but if you like it, then use it. A very underrated tool when you're in plant indoors is a nail scrubber. Both for your nails, but also to scrub away any stuck soil or such on trays. And also, if you're like me, you're washing your hands a lot when you're replanting and you need a good hand cream. And it doesn't have to be an expensive one. I think this one is great. It's a bit steep to buy, but it lasts forever. You can also make your own. The beeswax to do that may be a bit on the steep end when you buy it, but will also last you for many, many, many batches. So if you want to make your own, you can click the link at the end of this video, because I will link to an instruction video I did over Christmas. Gardening and growing food can really quickly turn into a collector sport, where you keep buying more and more tools and gadgets and up the price because you feel like it's probably needed. My question to you is, do you have a tool you regret buying? Because I sure do. Or do you have a tip on something that you can make yourself, or that's really cheap, or that makes gardening easier? If you do, please add them in the comments for my sake and for others to take part of as well. It's beginning to look like spring outdoors, finally, and soon we'll dive into outdoor sowings, and I can tell you how much I look forward to that. If you want to get notifications about when that video is out, as well as the slowly progressing videos about the garden plan, please don't hesitate to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye.